Well, hi there folks, it's Matt Hayson here reporting on our property market. We're starting to see those auction volumes starting to climb. Last week, 672 properties due to go under the hammer across the Sydney market for an overall clearance rate sitting at 58.5%. So our read on the market so far this year, it's more evenly poised between buyers and sellers. That said, there's enough competitive auctions taking place just to keep a lot of buyers on their toes. But generally speaking, when we're starting to see around 30% of listed auctions selling prior, that would suggest to us that there's just not enough buyer competition for every property that's being listed onto the market. Also during the week, NAB, first major bank to come out with a fairly significant property price forecast, suggesting at the end of this year, property values in Sydney will see pretty much flatline growth. But the big one is NAB are forecasting that property values in Sydney will decline by 11.4% by the end of 2023. Now, the major part of this thesis is rising interest rates. And we can see on this graph here, the correlation that when interest rates were falling, we can see a fairly sharp rise in property values. But we can also see conversely, when interest rates do increase, we can start to see property values either flatline or start to decline. Now, during the week, one of the best financial commentators out there for AFR, Christopher Joy, made a poignant point which said, "What cheap money give, expensive money taketh away." Now, futures markets are factoring in up to 7 interest rate increases by the close of 2023, leaving the cash rate at 1.9%. Now, that would correlate to a mortgage rate at around 5.5%. So it'll be interesting to see whether or not that actually unfolds. But during the week, the head of CBA Bank, Matt Comyn, has come out and suggested to the RBA, if you are looking to lift interest rates, do so modestly and with some patience, just to give businesses and owner-occupiers of property just a little bit of breathing space to absorb those future rate increases. But I do want to come back to the NAB property price forecast, because I've done a little bit of research just to see how accurate they've been in the past. Now, looking at their residential quarterly report back in November 2020, NAB at that point in time predicted that property values in Sydney would increase by 6% last year. Now, as we all know, here in Sydney, property values increased by 28% or north of, and nationally they're up over 25%. So that's a pretty big miss by NAB, leaving more than 20% growth on the table. Now, looking at the same report in July last year, they'd actually elevated their forecast to 18.5% growth by the close of the year. Again, that was wrong. And they also predicted that there would be property price increases in Sydney this year of 3.6%. Now, they've wound that back, saying we will see flatline growth this year. Now, the frustrating thing about all of this is we see these headlines come out across the media, typically on a Friday afternoon. It influences sentiment. It becomes a conversation widely amongst the market and buyers and what we're hearing. But there isn't any reference to how inconsistent they have been and how highly inaccurate they've also been with this forecasting. So you need to take these forecasts with a grain of salt. It doesn't matter if it's NAB or most of the banks are actually pretty much wrong most of the time. Which leads us into this weekend, folks, where we've got some of the best property that's been listed so far this year has entered the market, which is wonderful for the buyers out there. We're very excited to be showing them. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you all next week.